welcome to this video on solving inequalities. Now, for the most part, solving an inequality is exactly the same as solving an equation. However, you just need to make sure you keep that symbol the same. Now, there are some other differences, like when we're dealing with dividing or multiplying a negative, or when we're dealing with quadratics. We're not going to touch upon those today. We're just going to be looking at regular inequalities and ways to solve them. Okay, so we just need to make sure that we know we can solve equations, and then we should be able to do this. Okay, so let's have a look at this first one. The first one here says, example 1, solve, so it is solve, x subtract 1 is less than 5. Now, if this was an equation, we'd need to get rid of that negative 1, and it's exactly the same here. So I get rid of a negative 1 by adding 1 and adding 1 to both sides. So in which case, if I add 1 to the left-hand side, I'm just left with x. If I add 1 to the right-hand side, I'm going to have 6. And that is your final answer for this one. X is less than 6. Now, we can draw this if we want. Sometimes they do ask that, in which case we draw our number line, 5, 6, 7. It's going to be an open dot because it's just strictly less than, and it's going to be pointing left because it says less than. Okay, brilliant. Well, this is the important part that we're looking at today, solving. Okay, so I think that's a good start here. Maybe pause and have a little go at that question on the right-hand side. I think you should fly through that. It is negative, but don't worry. Okay, so let's have a little go at it together then. So x add 8 is less than or equal to 2. Remember, we need to keep that symbol the same. Example 2. So if I want x on its own, I'm going to be subtracting 8, subtracting 8. So if I subtract 8 from the left-hand side, we're just left with x. If I subtract if I subtract 8 on the right-hand side, 2 subtract 8. Now be careful with that. It's 2 subtract 8, not 8 subtract 2. 2 subtract 8 is negative 6. Okay? Keeping that symbol the same in the middle. Don't ever change it. Okay? Unless we're divided by negative. We're not going to deal with that today. Again, I will draw it just to show you can. Negative 7, negative 6, negative 5. Closed dot because it's equal to as well. And less than, so pointing left. Brilliant. So let's just check those. Super. Super. So this next one here is a little bit trickier. And the reason it's a little bit trickier is because the x is on the right-hand side. And the problem with this is when we're actually trying to draw our inequality, people get a little bit confused. So I'm going to go through this one first. So this one here is example 3. Again, make sure you're getting this down in your notes. So here I've got 2 is less than x over 5. So the first thing we need to do is to solve it like a normal equation. So we want to get rid of this divided by 5. So I do that by times in both sides by 5. 2 times by 5 is 10, which is less than x over 5 times by 5 is just going to be x, like so. Now, the problem with this here is this looks like it says x is less than 10, which is right, okay? But when people draw it, 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, they do this. Open dot, brilliant, because it's not equal to, and then they do this, okay? But that is wrong. Now, the reason this is wrong is because it's the way that we read the inequality. We're reading this x is less than 10, but we want x to kind of be the subject of this. So the way that we need to read it is from right to left because we're dealing with x. And in fact, what we should do is probably write this with the x on the left-hand side. Now, this here, the way you think about it in inequality is where the wider side is always greater than where the smaller side is. So I'm saying that x is wider side greater than 10, okay? Or 10, smaller side, is less than x. Both of those things are the same thing. So if I'm turning this around, it's going to be x is greater than 10. You need that y part to always match that x part here. And then when I draw it, 9, 10, 11, we can see, open dot, that it should actually be pointing this way because now the X is on the left-hand side. Brilliant. So, it's a little bit trickier there, just that last part. I don't want you to get confused with that. So, pause now and have a little go at that one on the right. Pause now and have a little go at that one on the right. Okay, so let's go through it together then. So with this one here, same as always, I need to get rid of that -2 first by adding 2, adding 2. If I add 2 to both sides, 5 plus 2 is 7, which is less than or equal to. That's going to cancel. I'm just left with X. I've got the X on the right-hand side, but I want the X on the left-hand side because it's easier to read. That means I need to turn all of this around, keeping that wide part next to the X. So X is greater than or equal to 7. So then when I draw it, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, it's going to be a closed dot because it's equal to as well, and it's going to be pointing right like so. Brilliant. Super. So let's step it up a little bit. Let's move on to another one. Brilliant. They're both right. So this next one here isn't too much trickier. If you can solve equations, you can definitely do this. So this one here is example 5. Remember to get it in your notes, and then we'll have a go at that one on the right-hand side. So 2x subtract 1 is less than or equal to 4. So there's going to be 2 steps here. We need to get rid of this -1 first, and then we need to get rid of that times by 2. So let's just do it. So plus 1 plus 1. If I add 1 to the right-hand side, I'm just going to end up with 2x. If I add 1 to the, the right-hand side, if I add 1 to the left-hand side, I'm just left with 2x. If I add 1 to the right-hand side, I'm going to have 5. Then I need to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. 2x divided by 2 is just x, which is less than, keeping that inequality the same, 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5. Okay? You could, if you wanted to, there's no reason why you can't keep that as a fraction either. So 5 over 2, like so. Okay? But what I'm going to write as a decimal. The reason I'm going to write as a decimal is because I want to draw it. Okay? So here, we've got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's less than or equal to 2.5. So 2.5 is going to be in the middle there. Closed dot because it's equal to as well. Pointing left like so. Brilliant. Just those extra steps. Just trying to solve it. So adding 1, divide by 2. Okay. Pause now and have a little go at that one on the right-hand side. Pause now and have a go at that one on the right-hand side. Okay, so let's have a look at this one together then. So, we've got, this is example 6, 4x plus 3 is greater than 8. Now, the first thing we've got to do is expand this bracket. That was the extra little part I gave for you. So 4 times by x is 4x. 4 times by 3 is plus 4, 8, 12, which is greater than 8. And now I just need to solve this like a normal equation, keeping that symbol the same. So subtract 12, subtract 12. So 4x is greater than 8, subtract 12 is -4. Okay, then divide by 4, divide by 4. Sorry, I should cancel that one there, shouldn't I? 4x divided by 4 is just x. -4 divided by 4 is going to be -1. So if I draw my number line, -1, -2, sorry, -2, -1, 0, 1, -2, -1, 0, 1. It's greater than -1, not including it, so it's fine. Brilliant. Okay, so there you're kind of your simple inequalities. So we're going to be looking at a trickier one now. Both of these are past paper questions, so both of these have come up before. Now it's only getting slightly harder, and the reason this is slightly harder is because we've got unknowns on both sides. If you are struggling with this part because you haven't seen solve an equation with unknowns on both sides, make sure you watch that first. I'll put a link below for that video. Okay, so I'll go through the first one, then I'll let you have a go at the next one, and then we'll move on. So our first one, this is example 7, isn't it? Okay, so 5x plus 2 is greater than 3x plus 7. So when I'm solving an equation with unknowns on both sides, the trick is to always, and it's just here like this, so no fractions or anything, the trick is to always get rid of the smallest unknown first. And the smallest unknown in this case is this 3. Okay, be careful, sometimes this is negative, in which case you've got to think about how far it would be on the number line. But in this case, it's quite easy, 3. So I'm subtracting 3x and subtracting 3x from both sides to get rid of 3x on that side. So if I subtract 3x from this side, 5x take away 3x is 2x plus 2, which is greater than. 3x take away 3x just leaves you with nothing there. We still have the 7. And then I'm back to those equations, which I can solve quite easily. So subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2 from the left-hand side, I'm just left with 2x. Subtract 2 from the right-hand side, I'm going to have 5. Brilliant. So then divided by 2, divided by 2. 2x divided by 2 is just x, which is greater than 5 divided by 2. I'm going to leave it as a fraction. Can write it as a decimal if I want. X is greater than 2.5. Brilliant. 3 marks, that is. 3 marks for that question. Okay, that's because it's equations with unknowns on both sides. It's an inequality, so you're expecting that to stay the same. Okay, and you've got that weird little fraction bit at the end, which some people struggle with. So they always panic about 5 divided by 2, but you can do it, or you can just leave it as a fraction. Okay, so make sure you're getting this down in your notes, okay, and then have a practice at this one on the right-hand side. Brilliant. So let's go through it together. Again, this is 3 marks, okay? Example 8. So 3x plus 5 is greater than or equal to, this time, x plus 17. So I always get rid of my smallest unknown first, and in this case it's x, which is the same as saying 1x, but we don't say that, do we? So I'm going to subtract this x, subtract this x. 3x take away x is 2x plus 5, which is greater than or equal to 17. Then I need to get rid of this add 5, so subtract 5, subtract 5. If I subtract 5 from the left-hand side, I'm going to be left with 2x. If I subtract 5 from the right-hand side, it's going to be 12. 17 take away 5 is 12. Last part, divided by 2, divided by 2. X is greater than or equal to 6. That's your answer. Or we'll draw this, just because sometimes we do ask that. So 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a closed dot on 6. And it's greater than 6, so it needs to be pointing right like so. Brilliant. 3 marks, that is. It's a gift if you get it right. So, we've got a trickier question here. Now, I've put this one on here just because I wanted to give you a little bit of a push. Now, this one here was on a Key Stage 3 Stats paper, level 6 to 8, which is kind of the top end of GCSE. Well, middle end of the current GCSE, but it's a trickier question. Okay, only because it's got a few more steps. I'll put it up in case you want to have a go at it yourself. So maybe pause and have a go at yourself if you really want. Okay, so let's have a go at it together then. So there's only a few extra steps here. So 2 times by 2y plus 7 all over 3 is less than 2. So, a few things to happen here. Do I expand the bracket first, or do I times by that 3 first? And to be honest, it doesn't matter. I'm going to expand the bracket first. So, 2 times by 2y is 4y. 2 times by 7 is plus 14. All divided by 3, keeping that the same. Brilliant. So I've expanded that bracket now. The next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 3. When I do that, I get rid of a divide by 3 by timesing both sides by 3. So if I times the left-hand side by 3, I'm just left with 4y plus 14. If I times the right-hand side by 3, I've got 6. And then I'm just back to that equation which I can solve. So subtract 14, I'm left with 4y is less than 6 take away 14 is negative 8. Okay, careful with that one. And then divided by 4, y, remember this symbol here, that's the important part, it's always staying the same. We're always going down and underneath. So is less than negative 2. Brilliant. Super. So I can draw that, can't I? Let's draw it down here. It's got negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0. I've got an open dot on negative 2, and it's pointing left. Open dot because it's just less than and not equal to as well. Brilliant. So as you can see, there's a few more steps there. Not that much trickier, but there are a few more steps. We've got the graph at the end. Brilliant. So let's move on to the last question of this video. Okay. This one is a little bit trickier. Okay. We're just going to take our time, and it does come up. Okay. It's a problem-solving question. We should probably check the answer first, shouldn't we? Y is less than negative 2. Brilliant. Okay. So this is from the WJC Welsh paper in 2017, but I have seen some of these on OCR and Excel as well. Rashid owns N sheep. Ifon had exactly 4 times as many sheep as Rashid. Rashid buys 17 extra sheep. Ifon sells 8 of his sheep. Ifon still has more sheep than Rashid. Form an inequality in terms of n and solve the inequality to find the least possible value of n. Right, there's loads going on here. We need to really take our time. So I'm just going to build this up. I'm going to say R and E for Rashid and Ifon. I'm pretty sure I'm saying Ifon wrong, even though I'm from Wales. So Rashid owns N sheep. Ifon has exactly 4 times as many sheep as Rashid. So Ifon has 4N sheep. Rashid buys 17 extra sheep. So he has now got plus 17 sheep. And Ifon sells 8 of his sheep. So he's got 8 less sheep. So this is going to be 4N subtract 8. Ifon has more sheep than Rashid. So here, if he's got more sheep, we know that it's greater than on this side. So it's going to be N plus 17 is less than, or the other way around, is greater than, for this side, 4N subtract 8. Because Ifon has more sheep than Rashid, so it has to be wider on this side, because this one here is bigger than this one here. So that's the starting point. We've formed our equation. There's loads going on there. Really taking our time. Okay. Now we need to solve it. And we can do that. We've just done loads of these. So remember, we need to get rid of the smallest unknown first, which in this case is the n. So subtract n. So if I subtract n from this side, I'm just left with 17, which is less than 3n subtract 8. Then I'm going to add 8. So add 8 and add 8. If I add 8 to the left-hand side, 17 plus 8 is 25, is it? Yeah. 17 plus 8. 25, yeah, good. 25 is less than, if I add 8 to this right-hand side, I'm just left with 3n. Then I need to divide by 3. So divide by 3, okay. 25 divided by 3 is 25, well, it's paper one, so I'm going to do this non-calculator methods. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, with one remainder. So it's going to be 8 times, I'll write it as this first of all, 25 over 3, less than n. Brilliant. So divide by 3, divide by 3. Now I need to write this as a mixed number. So how many times does 3 go into 25 and what's left over? We've just done that, haven't we? 3 goes into 25 8 times and there's 1 left over. So it's going to be 8 and 1/3 is less than n. Now there's another part here, isn't there? Notice that the n is on the right hand side and we don't want that. So we need to swap all this round, keeping that wide side next to the n. So here, I'll do it here actually underneath, you can see. N is greater than 8 and 1/3. Brilliant. So the question says, what is the least possible value of n? Well, if n is everything which is greater than 8 1/3, we can't have 8 1/3 sheep. We're not going to chop a sheep into 3, okay? So we've got to think about what's the first integer, okay? My first whole number, which is greater than, because n is greater than this, 8 1/3, and that is 9, okay? The first whole number greater than 8 1/3 is 9. So the answer is 9 sheep. So the smallest amount of sheep that Rashid can have is 9 sheep. Brilliant. It's hard, that. It's a tricky question. There's loads going on. I'm going to suggest that you get that one in your notes because it is tricky. It's a problem-solving question. Okay? It actually came up in the higher paper, that one, question 10. But there's no reason why something like that couldn't come up in the foundation as well towards the end. Okay? Let's just check that answer. 9 sheep. Brilliant. Okay. So I'll put some questions up. So have a go at these questions. There's 2 problem-solving ones at the end. So pause now and have a go at those questions. Super. So I'm going to pop the answers up. So mark these in green for me. Brilliant. So there's some tricky questions at the end there, those last 2. So if you've got those right, well done. Do make sure you're having a go at these questions. Remember, the only way to learn maths is to do it. Thank you for watching this video and have a lovely day.